I just want to thank all you Patreon people sending me all that money and let me to redecorate my office, redo our videos and send them all over the world. Here's a table where we do that. Here's the storage container where we store them. Say hi to YouTube. That's my driving assistant. We're spending that money wisely. Send us more. If you don't, you're going to end up like this guy. The Mazda CX-30 is a nice compact SUV starting at $24,995. And they're going to send us one to test, but I think it's going to cost a bit more than the space one we're seeing here in the photo. Let's take a look at the price sheet they emailed me. Sorry about the condition of the paperwork, but this is the way it came. And here we have the 2.5 turbo upgraded engine with all-wheel drive. Premium Plus, which means it's loaded up with just about everything. Alright, this price you think everything would be standard, but I see they're charging an extra $300 and something $66 for paint and $136 for chrome bumper guards, which should be standard for deluxe model, but oh well. And there's your tab, a big jump up from the $25,000 base. One of the reasons Mazda had such a loyal fan club is because it was one of the few brands that was actually made in Japan by Japanese workers in a Japanese factory, like a lot of other Japanese brands that are made elsewhere. But this is starting to change, as you can see, where it's made. This might bother some people, and some people it might not bother. I'm just the messenger here. Alright, here it is in person. I do have to say, most of these Mazda SUVs look alike, whether it's the CX-30, 50, or 90. But that's a good thing, because you get the cheaper model, it looks like the more expensive model, right? And I got a Warthog A10 drowning me out here. What a gorgeous plane. Let's get back to the Mazda video. One of the first things we do when we get a vehicle is check to see what brand of tires they sent, because a lot of companies are going cheap with junk brands. These are Bridgestone, so not bad. And the second thing we want to do is check to see if there's a spare tire. Yes, there is, but remember, this is the deluxe model. Doesn't mean you'll get one on the cheaper models. If you just bought one, you might want to take a peek and see. And the third thing we do is take these headlights out in the dark and set to perform and do some night driving. We did a video on that, already posted on YouTube. Well, link for that in this video so you're not missing anything. You're already here, you might as well watch it. The base engine is a 2.5 liter, putting out 191 horsepower. Rate 26 MPG in the city, 33 on the highway. This is the upgraded turbo. 227 horsepower if you use 87 octane, but if you use premium, bumps up to 250. Rate 22 MPG in the city, 30 on the highway. And we'll be taking this out in the real world to get the real fuel economy numbers, unlike other YouTubers that just guess and take it off the EPA sticker. The paperwork says it's a 6-speed automatic transmission. Must be true. At least it's not a rubber band CVT transmission we get in some of the other compact Japanese vehicles. Let's take a look at the cabin steering, the glove box. Lots of room in there. One thing I've always liked about Mazda is their simple climate controls. Just a few knobs and buttons, as we see here, the way it should be. And here it gets a bit more complicated. Mazda's trying to copy the Germans with their control knobs, which makes things more complicated, not simple, but you'll get used to it. We do have a volume knob for the radio, thank you. You have a switch giving you sport mode for quicker driving. Surrounded by plastic that reflects the sun a bit too much. I don't like reflective plastic, but it's down here, so it's not too much of a problem. A decent sized info screen with a high quality camera system. A nice gauge cluster with round dials, the way it's supposed to be. Pedal shifters on the steering wheel where they can always be reached by your fingertips, unlike the Italians that put them on the steering column, which is stupid. Yeah, I know, Ferrari puts them on the steering column. It's stupid. They belong here on the wheel. We can always reach them. There is one complaint I have of this vehicle and many Mazdas in general. It's the heads-up display that reflects in the windshield. And it's always there. You can't turn it off. Well, you can sort of turn it off. Yes, you can get on the info screen and disconnect it temporarily. But you turn the car back on, and the heads-up display comes back on, so you have to go through the procedure every single time if you want to disconnect it, and I don't want to do that. So for all practical purposes, you can't disconnect this. Not by switches anyway. So what do? Get a black sock or black hat, shove it down the hole. Now problem solved. The heads-up display is gone. Of course, the only disadvantage of this, if I forget to take my hat or socks out, and they take the car back, there's probably about a dozen Mazdas out there with socks and hats stuck down the chute. Probably still there. Hey, sometimes I forget. What can I tell you? One thing I've noticed in my driving, this is the most inaccurate fuel gauge I've ever used. I was on empty, just a couple of gallons in the tank. Put in 6 gallons, and now it shows a full tank, which is impossible. And over here to the left, you see the number 180, the miles you have left. Even when you fill a 13-gallon tank up, it never goes over 180 when it should be at 300. So this is off, and this is off. So it'll be interesting to see if the mileage computer is off. We'll find out later on. Alright, enough bitching about the gauges. Let's do some driving. One thing that separates the Mazda SUVs from other SUVs, number one, instead of sloppy steering, you have very sharp, precise steering. It's found on Mazda sports cars. Instead of a mushy suspension, you get a brisk handling capability. It's found on Mazda sports cars. And very strong brakes, too. Whenever I'm driving a Mazda sedan or SUV, it's just like driving their Mazda Miata sports machine. Very brisk and not so fun. Plus, in this case, if you ditch the base engine for this 250 horsepower turbo, it's got a lot of guts and a lot of pulling power. Especially climbing elevation like we are now. And if you put it in the sport mode, it's even better. This vehicle is quick. Likes to hug corners too. We're going to take this Mazda on a highway trip, just over 100 miles. See what type of fuel economy numbers we get. This vehicle is reasonably comfortable on highway driving. Pretty quiet, low wind noise, aside from the thumping, rumbling from the tires and wheels that are a bit on the noisy side, annoying, but you get used to it. This is a small vehicle after all, not a limousine. Alright, 120 miles, 26.8 mpg. We were getting high 20 mpgs, but I did a lot of passing and that knocked it down a notch. Still a pretty decent figure. The claimed fuel economy for the highway is 30 mpg. If you keep the cruise control at 70 miles per hour and don't do any passing, you come pretty close to matching it. Alright, last night we did a fuel economy test. MPG reading was okay, but I think we can do better, so we're going to take another highway test. Try to keep the speed constant and not do any passing, and see what happens. I'm trying to get over 30 mpg for sure. I think we can do it. That was a nice 100-mile drive. Let's pull over and see what the numbers are. Well, we wanted to break the 30 mpg mark, and we did, 30.5. It can be done. Just a note, this CX-30 can be taken off-road if you want. It does have the ground clearance, but remember, this is a car platform, not a heavy-duty frame Jeep or Range Rover, so light duty only. So what's my take on this Mazda after a week of driving? Well, it's like this. If you're looking for basic transportation, the base vehicle at 25 grand will do just fine. But if you want to go first class, that turbo motor is the way to go, but it's going to cost you some coin. Now coming up, the link to our headlight test and night drive. Click and watch.